Iran has been in a state of unrest for almost 2 years. US-backed leader Shah Reza Pahlavi's regime begins facing riots in the street from Iranian protesters. After a year of violence and protests, Pahlavi flees the country on January 16, 1979. It sets the stage for the return of the revolution's leader, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, a Shiite cleric who has been exiled to France. He returns with plans of turning Iran into a religious dictatorship, or a vilayat-e-faqih. America has long intervened in Iranian politics, mostly through secretive means. The distrust of the United States fuels the Ayatollah's followers, primarily Iranian college students. It is on November 4th that 500 students defy all international law and agreements to storm the U.S. Embassy. 52 embassy and staff members find themselves held hostage by the sheer numbers of students. The captors demand, return the deposed Shah for trial while also ending any American involvement in Iran, and they will set the hostages free. With the Ayatollah refusing to restore order with Iran's police, the country is in a state of chaos. President Jimmy Carter, facing overwhelming odds, calls on the Pentagon to intervene. Operation Eagle Claw will test Delta Force and have a profound, lasting effect on America's special forces. The plan: 8 Navy RH-53D Sea Stallion helicopters will depart the aircraft carrier the USS Nimitz from the Arabian Sea. Their staging area, Desert 1, is in central Iran. There, they will convene with 3 EC-130E transport planes carrying the Delta Force operatives, and 3 more MC-130Es bearing 6,000 gallons of jet fuel for the copters to make the trek. The second staging area, Desert 2, is 260 miles from Desert 1 and 52 miles south of Tehran. The helicopters will land there and wait. On the night of the 25th, Delta Force operatives will ride into Tehran with 6 different trucks driven by CIA operatives from Iran. They will take the embassy, free the hostages, and be picked up by helicopter in a nearby soccer field. Supporting them will be U.S. troops, affecting power supplies to Tehran, and AC-130 gunships for cover fire in Tehran. Army Rangers will secure a nearby airport to board C-141 transports and escape to safety. The greatest enemy on a battlefield isn't always the other side. Many times, it can be the elements and pure chance. Such will be the downfall of Operation Eagle Claw. Dragon 1, the first helicopter, lands the first night per a prior installed infrared lighting system. The pilot, donning night vision goggles, is forced to pass over the runway 4 times to check for obstructions. The Dragon 1 is heavily damaged in the process. The combat control team, with commanders Carney and Beckwith, unload. This team consists of 120 Delta Force operatives and 12 Rangers, along with 15 Iranian and American agents fluent in Persian. More Delta operatives are dropped off by 2 more MC-130 helicopters. Then, a chance encounter with fuel smugglers in a tanker truck forces the Army Ranger roadblock team to destroy it with a shoulder-fired rocket. The resulting conflagration lights up the airfield for miles around. A dust storm called a haboob, where sand particles form a thick consistency in the air, strikes. 1 helicopter crash lands, while another is able to return back to the USS Nimitz. A 3rd helicopter falls prey to mechanical issues with the hydraulic system. Without a plan B, partially due to Beckwith's refusal to utilize Canadian intelligence, the mission is scrubbed. While leaving Desert 1, one of the remaining helicopters crashes into a C-130. 8 are killed in the explosion. The rest of the helicopters are abandoned in haste as the operatives evacuate by transport, leaving them to be added to the Iranian Navy. At 1 a.m. on April 25th, the White House admitted failure. The Iranians at the embassy scatter the hostages across the country, keeping American forces from staging another concentrated rescue attempt. President Carter is unsuccessful in securing the hostages' release through diplomatic means. After 444 days, the Iranians release 52 captives on January 20, 1981, immediately after the end of Carter's term. Khomeini proclaims an act of God caused the sandstorm. The United States will not forget the hostage situation or Khomeini's ruthlessness. An investigation into the failure of Operation Eagle urges the creation of the Joint Special Operations Command, an organization to coordinate operations and training between special mission units that are considered Tier 1. This includes the Navy Special Warfare Development Group, Delta Force, and the Air Force's 24th Special Tactics Squadron. Other special forces are created for specific missions in the shadow of the failed Eagle Claw. The Navy's SEAL Team 6 is created, while the Night Stalkers, the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, Airborne, are created for aviation missions. Richard Marcinko is tapped by the Navy as one of 2 representatives on the Terrorist Action Team to create a full-time counter-terrorist unit for the Navy. He names this one SEAL unit SEAL Team 6, with the goal of confusing Soviet intelligence, who will assume there are several of these teams in action. Officially formed in October 1980, SEAL Team 6 recruits undergo an intensive 6-month training program. These specialists are the best from both SEAL and underwater demolition teams. They are required to have combat experience, SEAL skills, an aptitude at languages for having to deal with local populations, and the ability to fade away into civilian populations during operations. With seemingly endless resources, the team's ammunition requirements apparently exceeds that of the entire Marine Corps. If it is attached to a body of water, be it an oil rig or a coastal embassy, it is a mission for SEAL Team 6. October 1981 sees the birth of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Battalion, or as they are better known, the Night Stalkers. This Special Operations Force has members that are triple threats for Army, Airborne, and the Night Stalkers. With a headquarters, 4 battalions, and training, the Night Stalkers boast the greatest combat pilots to ever fly a helicopter or jet. The Night Stalkers are formed to stage a second rescue attempt of the hostages in Tehran in early 1981. Operation Honey Badger is canceled when the Iranians release the hostages immediately after President Carter's term ends. But the Night Raiders are not off the table. They are officially formed on October 16th and kept as a contingency. They will see action very soon. During his first term, President Ronald Reagan faces the threat of global terrorism. Korean Airlines Flight 007 is shot down by the Soviet Union on September 1, 1983. Among the 269 on board is over 60 Americans. On October 23rd, members of the multinational force in Lebanon stage a suicide run with 2 trucks driven into troop barracks. 58 French paratroopers and 241 American Marines are killed in this jihad. Barely more than a week before, there is trouble on the island of Grenada.
Grenada and a half dozen other Caribbean islands here were until recently British colonies. They're now independent states and members of the British Commonwealth. While they respect each other's independence, they also feel a kinship with each other and think of themselves as one people. In 1979, trouble came to Grenada. Maurice Bishop, a protege of Fidel Castro, staged a military coup and overthrew the government which had been elected under the Constitution left to the people by the British. He sought the help of Cuba in building an airport, which he claimed was for tourist trade, but which looked suspiciously suitable for military aircraft, including Soviet-built long-range bombers. The 6 sovereign countries and 1 remaining colony are joined together in what they call the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. The 6 became increasingly alarmed as Bishop built an army greater than all of theirs combined.
When Bishop is ousted by his communist deputy prime minister, Bernard Couard, President Ronald Reagan is alarmed.
On October 12th, a small group in his militia seized him and put him under arrest. They were, if anything, more radical and more devoted to Castro's Cuba than he had been. Several days later, a crowd of citizens appeared before Bishop's home, freed him, and escorted him toward the headquarters of the military council. They were fired upon. A number, including some children, were killed and Bishop was seized. There were then about 1,000 of our citizens on Grenada, 800 of them students in St. George's University Medical School. Concerned that they'd be harmed or held as hostages, I ordered a flotilla of ships, then on its way to Lebanon with Marines, part of our regular rotation program, to circle south on a course that would put them somewhere in the vicinity of Grenada in case there should be a need to evacuate our people. Last weekend, I was awakened in the early morning hours and told that 6 members of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, joined by Jamaica and Barbados, had sent an urgent request that we join them in a military operation to restore order and democracy to Grenada. They were proposing this action under the terms of a treaty, a mutual assistance pact that existed among them. These small, peaceful nations needed our help. 3 of them don't have armies at all, and the others have very limited forces. The legitimacy of their request, plus my own concern for our citizens, dictated my decision. I believe our government has a responsibility to go to the aid of its citizens if their right to life and liberty is threatened. The nightmare of our hostages in Iran must never be repeated. We knew we had little time and that complete secrecy was vital to ensure both the safety of the young men who would undertake this mission and the Americans they were about to rescue. The Joint Chiefs worked around the clock to come up with a plan. They had little intelligence information about conditions on the island. We had to assume that several hundred Cubans working on the airport could be military reserves. Well, as it turned out, the number was much larger, and they were a military force.
Dubbed Operation Urgent Fury, U.S. Special Forces will play a key role in the operation. With poor intelligence, the most recent map available to National Security Council's Special Situation Group, U.S. Army Rangers of the 75th Ranger Regiment Joint Task Force 123, led by Army Major General Richard Schultz, will parachute in from MC-130s to capture the unfinished Salines runway. Marines will seize Pearl's airport after coming on shore via Navy Amphibious Squadron 4, led by Captain Carl Erie. It is 0500 hours on October 25, 1983, when Operation Urgent Fury finally launches, 3 hours past the original launch time. SEAL Team 4 and SEAL Team 6 will recon the Point Salines airfield and surrounding beaches of the Pearl Airport, capture the radio station to cut off any calls for reinforcement, and perhaps most importantly, rescue deposed British Governor General Sir Paul Scoon from his house arrest. SEAL Team 6 sends in 8 operatives by Black Hawk helicopter to seize the radio station at Beausejour. They secure the station, but after fighting emerging Grenadian forces, are forced to withdraw to the beach to escape by sea. Point Salines is a disaster. 4 members of Team 6 are lost at sea, a combination of waterborne parachuting into darkness and an excess of gear, some to the weight of 100 pounds. As the surviving SEALs move forward in their boats, they encounter a Grenadian patrol boat and are forced to turn back. Another attempt the next day finds the SEALs encountering another patrol boat and then left drifting at sea from a faulty engine. SEAL Team 6 is successful in saving the former governor after rappelling down from a helicopter. Their cunning and training allow them to hold off the governor's home until reinforcements are finally able to get through. 2 Marine Cobra gunships are shot down by Grenadian forces. The SEALs are also pinned in by fire from 2 AC-130 gunships. The Marines are able to arrive the next day and reinforce the brave contingent of SEALs. Learning the runway at Point Salines is blocked with vehicles, the Rangers are forced to parachute in from a mere 500 feet. Knowing they will be exposed to Grenadian fire, they bravely jump out at 0534 hours. A company, 175th, led by Captain John Abizade, hotwires a bulldozer to clear the runway. In less than 7 hours, the runway is secured, and American troops are brought in per a C-141 Starlifter. An attempt to free political prisoners from the Richmond Hill prison brings 5 MH-68 Black Hawk helicopters bearing Delta Force operatives, but later than planned. Losing the element of surprise, the operation is frustratingly scrubbed in light of ground fire. The invasion comes fast and fierce, with 5,000 American troops descending upon the island. American forces find enough weapons to arm 10,000 men, from small arms to anti-aircraft guns and shoulder-mounted rocket launchers, to howitzers and armored vehicles. At the end, the United States procure the country and help instill an interim government. The cost is 59 Cubans killed, with 25 wounded. The remainder are sent back to Havana. 45 Grenadians are killed, with 337 wounded. 19 U.S. troops are killed, with 119 wounded. Special forces were at the forefront, paving the way for the rest to come in. With Grenada secured, Cuba is denied another conduit for smuggling arms to boost communism. And the medical students are saved, able to fly home from the runway taken by American forces. Grenada is invaded within 2 months, with an interim government paving the way for a newly elected prime minister.
Grenada, we were told, was a friendly island paradise for tourism. Well, it wasn't. It was a Soviet-Cuban colony being readied as a major military bastion to export terror and undermine democracy. We got there just in time. I can't say enough in praise of our military, Army Rangers and paratroopers, Navy, Marine, and Air Force personnel, those who planned a brilliant campaign and those who carried it out.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help us produce more compelling historical content like this, please like, comment below, and share this video with fellow history buffs. And of course, be sure to subscribe to help keep history happening.